And welcome back. We're picking up where we left off last time in Victoria 3 as the Great Qing. Well, Great Qing for the moment. As Twitch chat says, woof woof, I'm getting distracted by the dog, yes. As soon as we get frontier colonization done, we want to get earning recognition completed as fast as possible. The original goal of this run was to try to skip the Opium Crisis. The British have kind of gotten in the way by dropping the investment rates a little too soon. Although it does look like we will do this peacefully. The British aren't attacking us because we've got a defensive alliance with the French, and we've got line infantry, which I think is going to be enough to keep them from attacking us. But yeah, the moment we need to fix our terrible government bureaucracy so we can lower our taxes again. That combined with earning recognition should put us in good steading for the rest of the game. That's old Marthon Wee. Next place we went government admin is Shandong. So decrease, move you to Shandong. So I think with frontier colonization, we need to have a land border with what we want to colonize. So there is stuff where we can possibly colonize down in Dainam. Although I don't know if Dainam starts with a claim base. That would stop us. Yes, we do. So yeah, we're not going to be colonizing anything right away, but we're picking it up for what we can use it for as well. It might also be easier to swap off of it. You want migration controls. That's very much a no, sorry. Migration controls too early as our faction here is likely to bite us in the butt. Yeah, let's do that, get back into contested. We were in that poor government state because we had to raise taxes. So that'll slow, well, that'll accelerate frontier colonization, at the same time making it less likely to succeed. Not by much, so 50% here should be enough. There we go. Okay, so with that done, our goal is every great power that we can get them to agree to it, offer embassy for investment rights. Maybe trade privileges. Yeah. There's one. France already has investment rights. We can't necessarily do that as the trade. Yeah, I don't got anything to offer them for it right now. Pass on them. Prussia. Same thing with Prussia, I think. I think we've got a deal out with Prussia for 3 years. Yeah, because we just use them for the law swap. France is 9 months, so they might be worth coming back to. Can they draft a treaty with Austria? It looks like it. Investment rights for offer embassy. Oh, they really don't want to do embassy. Why? Ah, because we have defensive pact with France is what that's going to be, because we only got a defensive pact with France, which is their rival. Okay, so Austria's off the table. At least while we're allied to France, which we're going to be until we sort appeasing the British. Maybe with the Ottomans here? Investment rights, offer embassy, trade privileges. some money transfer. Some days I wish you could just type in what modifier you want and have it go to where it is. There we go. Okay. So we hit up the 7 great powers right now. We've hit up Russia, Ottomans, Prussia, and France were waiting on stuff to happen. Austria won't do it. GB probably won't do it. Oh, and GB we can't do it until we finish the Opium Crisis anyway. What about America? Investment rights for embassy, trade privilege, the money. One like 53-ish here, up there. Okay. So when our current treaties run out with France and Prussia, we can do the same with them. In the meantime, this is rapidly advancing. We're going up 4 out of 200 every month. And when this is done, we'll be a great power because the French like us enough. In the meantime, we need to fix the government bureaucracy issue, which we really need to fix. As we fix the government bureaucracy issue, we will start to try undoing some of that. Let's get back up to neutral. Alliance with Spain. You know, I can always give up that alliance. Where? What will the... Okay, so they're not just going to take it for free. And this is not easy to bribe. Okay. Well, I was willing to humor you, faction, but you need to meet me halfway with that. What's the opposition here? We're unrecognized. Okay, so this is going to fix itself. So if we fix ourselves, if we get that done, we can still complete that. Opium smugglers. Piss the British off. Get some authority. Piss them off less, get influence. I actually kind of want the authority, so I'll take the authority option. Yeah, that pisses the British off. The British are grumpy. And they're going to be grumpy until the end of time, basically. Because even once the Opium Crisis is done, they're going to want the Opium Crisis-related stuff. Yes, England, go fight wars with other people and leave us alone. Spec engine. Nope, my queue's empty. I forgot. I need to keep the queue full bowling government admin. Yunnan and Eastern Guangdong. No. We want an alliance from you. No. Okay, that's an acceptable burn rate for the moment. Open Crisis complete. End of the abdiction. go to the authority influence option so we can get some more taxes. There's Napoleonic Warfare. That's a cannon upgrade, isn't it? Yeah, cannons and cav. Need percussion cap, general staff to be really modern for the moment. Forbidden Love. Change his ideology to enlightened royalist? Oh yes, I'm on board with that. Oh yeah, he'll be unpopular for 50 years. Nah. Enlightened royalist is just too good. So now we need to get him to somehow be like the head of one of the head of the scholar officials. That would be respectable. It's not gonna happen, but relationship towards Portugal improves. I like it better. Or I can get advancement to medical degrees. I want the medical degrees actually, so. Okay, we're all in Eastern now, so let's govern admin after Eastern, which is there. And move the decree. Interests. Do you want the Petit Bourgeoisie to become a part of government? So we let them to be government. That's government, we can just rule that way for a bit. Actually, the answer really is to kick everyone out of government. We'll just leave it that way for a bit, so we're sort of rolling the way we are. Okay, they pulled out of the July convention. Okay, so in theory I could probably buy Macau back. French. Still probably don't have enough for the offer embassy. Maybe. 36 here with trade privileges. Yeah, close enough. There we go. That'll accelerate getting the recognition a little bit faster. It's now 5 a month instead of 4 a month. Oh, and that one's no longer binding. So let's withdraw from this one. Well, that was my... What's not my defensive alliance with the French? I think that was my defensive alliance, the French. Maybe don't need that anymore. We did get the Opium Crisis in our reveal. I do want to give them investment rights. Can I get my state back for that? For that alone, no. The defensive pact for that, no. Why are they opposed so much, the defensive pact? Because we're unrecognized. So once we become recognized, they'd be more on board with us. Okay. We changed the duration. Does this change anything as far as the French is concerned? No. The minimum duration it is. Money transfer, we'll put what we can on the table. It's 56. Something you want no tariffs on? Close. Let me transfer some goods. Porcelain, something there. There's subventions and luxury goods. Okay. So no tariffs, but no subventions. So basically free trade on luxury goods. Okay. There we go. That gets us our treaty port back. So in theory I could go sell it again. To someone else. What would it take to get back our treaty port from the Americans? 100. Oh, that's more than what we pay for the month. Okay, the Prussians. We're waiting 18 months before we get the Convention of Dortmund goes away. Days of Darkness, so that's good old Krakatoa. Always goes off when you're over here in the east. Oh, and they've modified this. This is a new form of it. So we can see the affected states. Okay. We're not going to do anything to fix that, of course. We're an authoritarian government with other pressing concerns. Although... we'll do what we can. Like so... So there's 20% chance in those two states that we can get the devastation element minus 5%. Get some funds. Release some authority. We'll do the funds. The Despot of Washington. Yeah, let the literati join the Anti-American League. The literati is going to be in our government anyway. Oh, I suppose the Americans reasonably like this. Do I have the embassy from them? I think we do. We do. So we got the embassy from America, Russia, Ottomans. Russia, we can probably buy it in 13 months. France. Unlikely to get it from the British. Even though one of the things they want from us is probably investment rights, because yeah, isn't always the smartest problem in the tube. Oh, no, they just want to conquer 4 of our states. 3 of our states. Well, that's never going to go away. Oh, they've calmed down enough that we might get, like, cordial, and I might override it enough. Okay, so building up there. So, you to max. Admin. Western High Bay. 14. Pull the road maintenance out of there, move it to Western High Bay. I'm in debt. I was trying to avoid that. Although at this point, there's basically nothing else I can do. So we're going to ride a little bit of debt while we're waiting to get recognition here. Recognition should help. Do I have more interests now that I'm past the Opium Wars? Yes. Oh, I don't have a defense alliance with the French anymore. That means you're not against that inherently from Ready, Set, Go. Oh, I declined it for whatever reason. We're 75% of the way done. Oh, because they said their opinion to domineering of us. Because of course they did. Because now they want our stuff. Probably in the middle of losing a war against Russia as well, which isn't good for them. Still waiting on the Russian one at a time, actually 6 months. 6 times 5 is 30. Probably not even going to bother with the Prussian one at this point, because it's not even going to save us a month. Might try to sell the investment rights for income. Okay, we did get the 20% once in Western and Eastern Guangdong. Once these are down below 5%, we'll move the welfare around to try to speed up the devastation recovery. Monument to the Emperor. We don't want more radicals, but we can tolerate more radicals. Twitch is asking, what does going into debt mean in Victoria 3? With whom are you in debt with? What penalties are there? So when you're in debt, so all the buildings owned by the private economy have a cash reserve. The sum of the cash reserve is the maximum debt that the country can go into. So my credit limit is 133 million. I do pay interest on the debt. Right now it's 29.41%. The base rate comes from a bunch of different texts, or well, a bunch of different texts to lower it. And then we're getting additive and multiplicative effects, right? So we're getting an additive. Is it telling me where the additive is coming from? No, it's not going to tell me where the additive is coming from. We're getting 50% more interest because we're unrecognized. So as soon as we're recognized, the interest will reduce by 50%. So we'll go from 29.4 to less than 20%. So it's literally going to reduce the interest payment on the debt by 50%. So when you're asking what are the penalties associated with the debt, interest payments. So depending upon what country you are, that can be trivial. For an unrecognized country like the Great Qing, that's not trivial. 30% interest is painful. Once we get recognized, that 50% will go away. We'll become a great power. I think great powers have 50% less interest, so we're going to lose a 50% increase and get a 50% reduction. So we're going to go below 10% by just getting recognition here. And then there's a bunch of texts in society. Banking, so that's an additive minus 2%. Mutual funds, another additive 2%. Additive minus 2%. So I think it sums up to an additive minus 10%. Oh, and the 20% that we're seeing in the other menu is the base. So the base is 20. Twitch is asking, with whom do you need to be recognized? Is there like a UN or something? The answer is we want to be recognized by the other great powers of the world. So part of earning recognition here is we need to appear to be a member of the recognized world, right? Of the great powers. So a lot of the sort of the technologically backwards portions of the world are not recognized as sort of Western by the great powers, like the French, the Russians, the Great British, the Prussians, the Austrians, those sort of people. That's going to do that on me. So we can bring the menu up without going away. So this is the prestige ledger here, right? So we can see by default it's sorted by prestige here. Right now we're 3rd in prestige. However, by country ranking, we're 13th. So getting recognized in the country is sort of getting recognized by the great powers. So in this case, it's everyone who's ranking 8 and up. So it's Great Britain, France, Russia, Austria, United States, Prussia, Belgium, and the Ottoman Empire. Now, we're likely to go from being unrecognized as the Great Qing to being a recognized great power. So basically, we're going to join the great power community as soon as we get recognized here, because our level of baseline prestige from the size of our economy and the size of our army and that sort of stuff. So, Great Qing is sort of in the club with Joseon, which is unrecognized, Japan, which is unrecognized, Persia, which is unrecognized. I think Is Egypt's unrecognized. Sort of a lot of the more backward sort of Eastern powers are not sort of recognized as regional powers or minor powers or whatever by the Western world. And the Ottoman Empire starts off recognized as a great power, but they have an ongoing journal entry at the beginning of the game associated with reforming the Ottoman Empire. And if they fail that journal entry, the Western world looks at the sick man, the dying man of Europe, and goes like, "We don't recognize you as part of the Westernized world anymore," and they will lose recognition. They're one of the few powers that can lose recognition. Although there are some outliers. The East India Company, for example, is recognized. Granted, it's recognized because it's a colony of the British. Same thing with the Dutch East Indies. They're recognized because they're a colony of the British. A lot of the African nations aren't recognized, for example. So, Sokoto, the Ethiopians are not recognized at the game start. And obviously, the interest rate here partially represents like foreign banking, which is why you get such terrible interest rates when you aren't recognized. No one wants to lend to a sort of a backwards nation, and when you get recognized as not being backwards, that helps with your interest rate a lot. Okay, that's a law. You need to put more government admin in. And then the process of earning recognition is you need to do certain things. Certain things make you look backwards, like being on serfdom, being traditionalist, being isolationist. Certain things make you look more Western, so having high GDP, standards of living, having embassies for many of the great powers. So when you fill this bar up and you have at least one of the great powers that likes you, you'll basically sign like a pact of recognition. We'll see the event shortly here with that great power, which earns you recognition amongst the other great powers. About 2 months out? There we go. So oh, apparently I got it with the Russians and not the French. I was expecting to be with the French. Russians kind of make sense. They're next door as well. We also got a tech-intensive agriculture. We'll come back to that. So the Qing-Russian Treaty of Commerce and Navigation, signed earlier this afternoon in St. Petersburg, this landmark treaty officially abrogates any previous unequal treaties between Russia and Great Qing in favor of one new negotiated between peers. A new dawn for the Great Qing ratified the treaty. So Great Qing becomes recognized. The relations between us and Russia is improved, and there's a positive economic catalyst triggered in Russia. Okay. So that should very rapidly fix our interest rate. Yeah, so now we're down to 9.8. Big improvements. We were previously up at... yeah, we're previously up at, like, 30%, so that's improved. It is being reduced, apparently, because we've got a bunch of, like, 2% of the economy is owned by the government, so the government would be paying interest to itself, which is removed, obviously. The government doesn't pay interest to itself. Okay, so now as treaties come offline, I still want to be selling our investment rights. But at this point, I'm just selling them for money. Oh, and now the British would even straight up be like, yeah, we want an alliance. Can you give me an alliance for some money? I'm not going to get a lot of money out of them. Rarely going to get any money out of them. £300 a week. Okay. Oh, I could give them trade privileges, which would allow us to raise them a little bit. No, we can get 400 out of them. There we go. Okay, those are bounding for 3 years. You're no longer bounding, so we can go ahead and remove you. So withdraw from this treaty. And we're basically going to sell that back to them. Got the best ally. We get the British at this point. So investment rights, trade privileges. Give me your money. Oops. Yeah, close enough. You're no longer binding, so I can draw from you. And again, I do kind of want them investing in my company, so I want them to give them the investment rights. We'd like to fix our own economy, and getting them to pay for the investment rights is beneficial to that. Oh, and they're breaking all the agreements where we're receiving offer of embassy, which interestingly enough is in violation of the standing binding period. So they're technically getting infamy for that, which is something I probably shouldn't be so pro to doing. Although that works out in my benefit this time, so I'm not going to complain too much. Because it means I can turn around and sell the same thing that I was selling to them again, which is the right to invest in our market. There we go. Okay, so that one's still standing. Oh, that one was buying back my treaty port. That's fair enough. Oh, gotta keep a fair 30-something in preference. Yeah, to reliably take it. Oh, 29.4. Yeah, the change to interest rate. The recognition makes all the world of a difference. In this case. Yeah, close enough. There we go. So still binding with the Ottomans. Okay, the Ottomans didn't break theirs. Gold rush. To always spread the word. Did France break their other agreement? Yes. Okay, well this case makes a little more sense. They want stuff from me. The French decided they're going to be antagonistic. U.S. a natural enemy is a militarily threatening enemy. Relations are now poor because they've been breaking all the treaties. Fair enough. Although we've got an alliance with the British, so not too worried about them. Okay, also I can get or declare interests. Well, the interest in Japan again, Indochina again, Persia for the first time. Go to Scandinavia. Now, one thing I could risk, which I'm not going to because we're going to alliance with the British, well, the British like us more, is forming a power bloc. It's a sovereign empire, it probably wants to be a sovereign empire. Although, maybe not. Because we're not going to be vassalizing people. Although, this would be for the peaceful vassalizing people, to be fair. Obviously, let's start with vassalization. Right. But this is going to piss off all the other empires, so we're going to delay that until we're either ready to do it alone, which we're not, or the British are really happy. Okay, I need to do more government admin. Putting it where? Take me there, please. There. Thank you. Oh, how's the Krakatoa stuff going? Western's fixed. No, Eastern's fixed. Oh, no, Eastern isn't fixed from a devastation standpoint. But oh no, it's fixed from... Oh, Eastern isn't fixed from a devastation standpoint, but it's not got any... Can't put emergency relief on anymore. Because not enough people are starving. And the devastation isn't high enough anymore. Whereas apparently that's the case in... West. Oh, can't do Formosa. So it's just Fujian by the looks of it. Oh, wait, no. Emergency relief Fujian. There we go. Oh, and don't unpause for too long because we don't actually want the government wages to be high. Broke the protocol. Why? Ah, okay, so this is going to happen eventually. At game start, the Russians don't actually want any Great Qing territory. When they pick up nationalism, one of the journal entries activate, making them want some Great Qing territory. Most notably, these two states. So if you recognize the current Russian borders, you might notice the Russian borders stretch down to a port down here, IRL. They don't in-game. That's because the historical events where the Russians take that over is during the game. So the Russians have hit the point where they want to take that stuff. Now that I'm a recognized power, they're not going to be able to take that stuff. But they're going to still want it, so that's why they've broken the treaty. Which is a little bit of a shame. I was liking that money and liking their investment in my economy. Which they're not doing anymore. Which is irony, because they were the ones that recognized you. Yes. To be fair, I think the only unrecognized power to get, like, historically recognized during the time period was Japan, who also got it off of Russia. In that case, it was Japan defeating Russia in the Sino-Japanese War, making Russia recognize that Japan controls Joseon and Chinese Manchuria. So there's the atmospheric engine. Okay. So from there, we want to go into railways. And I need to start turning on a bunch of stuff. Do we got the dye for that? We do. We got the tools for that? We do. We probably don't have the lead. We don't have the steel. We don't have the sulfur. Over to the mines. Probably got the tools to turn those on. We're going to subsidize those. As soon as we're done building bureaucracy, we're going to be starting earlier industrialization here. Interesting that's water tube boiler that's spreading. It's one of the journal entries that just activated. Who just activated? Yeah, there it is, completing. So, this is journal entry, the atmospheric engine, which is get enough of your mines using atmospheric engines. You're going to get a bonus to mining, or tech bonus to either railways or water tube boiler. So either teching faster towards making the mine steam engines work better, or tech towards having railways, because this is all the atmospheric engine's a steam engine related thing. We're going to take it towards railways because we want to get railways done for inland infrastructure, which is something we need to fix at some point. We've been kind of neglecting infrastructure. That's where we're gonna build that infrastructure, or build the admin? Yeah. Winds of change. Set a throughput, no, oils for throughput limits, let's say. Belgium has formed a power block. Okay. Oh. Back in neutral. Okay, so good to see that we're starting to get positive revenue. We get up to about 70k. I'll drop from very high taxes to high. One of our modifiers and authority wore off. Although at this point I can probably take the emergency relief off. Most recovered from the tsunami. There we go. Drop to high taxes. Should reduce our revenue. Yeah. Let's figure out which state we want to go next for the government admin. Are there weather events in V3? I heard you said tsunami. Yes, there are natural disasters. They added them with one of the DLCs. So they give you the taste of some of the natural disasters we can get. Let's pop over to National Guard. So you can see National Guard gets... or reduces droughts, floods, wildfires, and extreme wind-related natural disasters. You can have localized pandemics and stuff like that as well, I believe. An indefinite opium ban. Organize crime suppression go away soon. Okay. The mines get organized, support the trade unions, or support the industrialists. We're gonna go favor the money powers. Is victory worth picking up without the DLCs? Aren't there any crucial packs to pick up? 13 of them listed on Steam. I'd probably say it is worth picking up without the DLCs. Most of the DLCs are adding probably what could be described as flavor to various nations. I think the first one added stuff around France. I'd have to be looking at the list if I remember which all of them were applying to. In many ways, a lot of the DLC actually make the nations associated with them harder to play, if that makes sense. For example, France added most of the French sort of oddities going on, like the rise of the French Empire, so the changeover from the Orléans faction to the Bonaparte faction in the monarchy, and then also the fall from the Bonapartes to the Third French Republic or the Fourth French Republic. The French have had a lot of republics. All of that just makes France more chaotic. For example, adds a bunch of stuff. One of the other expansions adds stuff to Brazil. I think it's not just Brazil. I think it's South America, but that's closest to the south. Which has to do a lot with how Emperor Pedro here basically wanted to get rid of slavery. And eventually he'd get effectively cooed by the landowners because he removed slavery. And interestingly enough, even though he got cooed by the landowners for removing slavery, they didn't reenact slavery because the slaves were free at that point, but basically established a landowning dictatorship at that point. Trying to remember all the DLCs. One of the DLCs is associated with India. So it's adding a bunch of East India related events. Stuff that you don't necessarily need to be playing with, but they make the nations associated with them much more interesting. Although, again, often by making them harder. Right, so if you're trying to learn the game, the DLCs are probably going to just make the game harder. Although there is the odd exploit that sometimes existed from having DLCs. So, but I don't think you had ways of interacting with the agitators reliably. Some of the agitator buttons don't exist if you don't have the DLCs, like grant leadership here. I don't think it exists if you don't have the DLC that it came from. Which, there are certain ways to trigger spawning certain agitators, and getting them to be leaders of interest groups can be quite powerful. You can manipulate it that way. But yeah, it probably is worth picking up without the DLC. Just recognize you're going to have basically all the nations play pretty similar without the DLCs. Like, that's the drawback of the DLCs. The DLCs are slowly making the nations more and more different and less the same. Although there's some nations that are actually really interesting to play without DLC. Like the Great Qing, which we're playing today, I think everything associated with the Great Qing that isn't sort of applied to other nations from DLCs is free to play. So all the Great Qing changes are free to play if they're only localized to Great Qing. So the Great Qing has a Confucian religion as their state religion. They have some specialist IGs that other factions don't. So instead of the landowners, which are usually a faction that everyone hates, for the Qing, they're the scholar gentry. And the reason most of the people hate the scholar officials is hate the landowners, is they like regressive forms of economy. Like, they like agrarianism and traditionalism. And for the Qing here, instead of that older form, the sort of regressive form, they get scholar gentry, which notably don't care about the economy. They're not necessarily as opposed to voting rights as a lot of the other landowners. Yeah, they prefer the monarchy. But if you have the monarchy in power, you don't mind that. And the monarchy usually isn't... Well, it depends on the nation. Sometimes the monarch is pro-landowner, and you're trying to get the landowners out of power, and that can be a bit of a problem. Whereas if we go, say, over to the Russians, because we can see the Russian landowners, so I found the right place. Yeah, that'll work. Russian gentry assembly. So this is the Russian landowners. They have... it's hierarchical? No, it's paternalistic here. So that adds economic system. They want agrarianism or traditionalism. Usually, as the player, you want laissez-faire and individualism. Trade policy, they endorse isolation of mercantilism. As the player, you probably want protectionism or free trade. So sort of, the Great Qing are definitely very interesting to play. I do like economics, so how does the Charters of Commerce one affect things? Mostly affects companies. So it adds prestige goods to companies, and adds company charters, which is going to be hard to explain until we get a company. I might get one sometime tonight. Otherwise, it will be in the next stream. Sadly, as the Great Qing, we're a little bit backwards. We don't start with any companies. And don't start with the tech we need to build any. But yeah, you can probably get away without Charters of Commerce. The main thing I think adds is the chartered companies. Or the company charters that you can do with the companies. I think it also adds a bunch of companies, so it adds more variety to the companies. As well as... Oh, that's something I can probably show. When we're in here... A bunch of the agreements that you can do in here are locked behind the tree. For example, the tariffs, the subventions, the non-colonization agreements, the prohibit trade with the world market, those are all Charters of Commerce. So the ways you can sort of twist the other guy's arm as far as commerce, to like force them to trade with you, or preferentially trade with you, or don't have tariffs on the thing you want to sell them, or don't subsidize the thing you want to sell them so their economy can make it anyway. The sort of like trade arm twisting you can do is tied to charters of commerce. A thing that's also there is monopolies. So you're negotiating to give a company a monopoly in another country is also a charters of commerce thing. It doesn't show up without charters of commerce. But you can play the game totally without that. It's just another thing you can do if you want to, say, put your companies ahead of other people's companies. I don't like that our debt's increasing again. I should probably raise the taxes again. Get the debt down a bit. Oh. That's why. We'll still work the debt down a bit. Gold fields depleted, that was going to happen. And eventually, always let them go. Don't need radicals in the gold fields. Oh, that reminds me. We do have gold fields. Well, I don't have any gold mines yet. We have gold fields, so I could build some gold mines. That'll probably be something we do very early on when we start industrializing. Okay, looking at the time, we're at the point where we should probably put a part break in for YouTube. It looks like early in the next part, we will finally deal with the bureaucracy. A lot of laws, changes that we've been doing have been making the bureaucracy worse and worse. Basically, we've been expanding the bureaucracy without, you know, doing things to fix. Well, we've been doing things to fix, it's just not necessarily fast. Well, let's actually fix the legitimacy of the government by kicking out the minorities. The minor factions that were pissing them off. Yeah, so for example, we were previously on traditionalism, which lowers bureaucracy upkeep, but obviously is a backwards form of economy. We moved to a more forward one, but we need more government to operate that. We got all these institutions: home affairs, education, law enforcement, home affairs. Then in many cases we want to make bigger. But obviously these are costing bureaucracy to maintain as well, and we've just about caught up with their bureaucracy costs. Oh, and kicking the bourgeoisie out of government has caused us to lose middle managers, which means we need more bureaucracy. We'll start going to solve that pretty early next stream. Next part. So if you're watching on YouTube, there'll be a part up tomorrow. If you're watching on Twitch, I'm going to take a short break to check on the dog. And then we'll be back to recording one more part. Where again, I think we'll finish expanding the bureaucracy and start to expand the industry. So, until next time, I hope you've been enjoying. Wish you all the best of luck and a good time until the next part or the next stream. And bye for now.